When you come off the standard American diet and you start purifying your body with all this water and green juices and living foods, you go through what's called a detox period or a healing crisis. And basically, what they said is in the first 10 days, your body's going to dump about 60% of all the chemical toxins that you've accumulated in your lifetime, and all the garbage that's lining your intestinal tract will get dumped out, 60% of it in the first 10 days. But then it takes 7 years to get rid of the other 40%.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who's out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to the show. Bob Nickman here, and this is The Exploding Human. That gentleman you heard at the beginning there is Tim James, and he's going to be talking to us about living life with a chemical-free body and some of the products that his company sells. More about that in a minute. But first, I want to invite you to visit my website, theexplodinghuman.com, TheExplodinghuman.com. And if you go to that website, you can see photos of every one of my guests, synopses of the episodes, and listen to the episodes. Also, a little bio on myself. And there's a donate button there if you'd like to support the show. Thank you so much. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's free, of course. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. You need to type in with Bob Nickman to hit that YouTube channel. And today's episode is sponsored, yay, by the Hero Soap Company. That's Hero, soapcompany.com. And my friend Lucas Rui over there has offered a discount if you type in the word exploding when you purchase the soap, then you will get a discount from Hero Soap Company. Hero Soap Company makes amazingly healthy and fragrant, and when I say fragrant, I mean they're infused with essential oils. It's very subtle and quite amazing, these soaps, all natural products, and a portion of their profits goes to helping homeless veterans. Lucas is a veteran, and he is a big advocate for helping homeless veterans. So it's also a good cause, and those soaps are great. I use them. I'm not going to advocate anything I don't use here. So what I love about them is they last a really long time. They smell great. They feel like they actually smell like you could eat them. That's how good these soaps are. I love them. So maybe check out their website and order a variety pack. I don't know what they call it exactly, but it's a bunch of different scents, and they're very natural and amazing. So that's herosoapcompany.com. Now, I would like to talk about Tim James for a second. Tim's story, which you're going to hear in a second, is quite amazing. It's he went from a very standard American diet and having a multitude of problems, physical problems, that were a result of eating this standard diet. And he was able to discover a way to transform his life. And then it segued into him creating this amazing business, chemicalfreebody.com. That's all I'm going to say, because Tim's going to tell it better than me. So here he is. This is Tim James. Okay, Tim James. I'm so glad you're here, man. I just perused the website, chemicalfreebody.com. And if anyone is interested in this website and products that we're going to be talking about in Tim's story, go to this website, because there's a ton of videos, helpful videos on all kinds of things about health. And we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But and if you are interested in getting some of the products, we're going to give you a discount. We'll just say that right up front. And let's talk about how they do that. They go to chemicalfreebody.com. On checkout, you type in exploding, and you will get a discount. What is our discount today?
Yeah, 5% for first-time purchasers.
Yeah. So I've named my wallet Wally the Wallet. The fatter he gets, the more women like him.
Makes sense.
It's one of my jokes. Okay. So Tim's story, which I know a little bit about, and he's going to tell us more. And this is my sort of experience in doing this podcast with people that are in the health field, that the wounded become the healers. Tim had an experience in his life, multiple experiences, that led him to leave his position. I think he was in finance. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was an independent financial advisor.
Yeah, he was a financial advisor, and he went into this field of health products. So how did this happen?
Well, I grew up over in Eastern Oregon on a cattle and hay farm. Hunting and fishing a lot. Meat was a big part of my life. We had our own meat saws, meat grinders, meat hooks. I mean, we made our own jerky, all that kind of stuff. And I had a lot of fun with my friends, and it was just fun. We're in the great outdoors all the time doing something. And, fast forward to, I was also an athlete. I played baseball at a high level for about 30 years. So I was really into being like fit, and strong, so I could hit the ball farther, throw the ball, I just wanted to compete. And then, fast forward, I was a husband and had a couple kids and a mortgage and a house, and, settled in with a standard American lifestyle, basically. But I'd also, that whole time, I'd been eating this standard American diet. And, you don't think much of it. I was eating my protein for my meat for my protein, for muscles, and I was drinking cow's milk and stuff like that for calcium for my bones. And I thought I was doing what I needed to do. And, I ate apples. I liked apples, so I ate those. And, man, if it wasn't for those apples, I might have been a goner. But anyway, all of a sudden I'm, 37 years old, and here I am, 38 pounds overweight. I'm inflamed. I was I had eczema on both of my elbows. I had eczema on my knee. I had another patch of skin issue on my shoulder. So I was rotting from the inside out. I had what was called leaky gut syndrome. We found out later, where you get these undigested, you get these microscopic tears or holes in your intestinal lining, and then undigested food particles and microbes get through the intestinal lining and go right into your bloodstream and cause inflammation internally or systemically. And I was dealing with that 24/7. And then it finally got so bad that I started bleeding rectally when I would go number 2. And that was just a common thing for me for a couple years, going to the bathroom and blood coming out. And I was just like, I hope that goes away. My stools were very, very hard, like rocks coming out. It was very painful to go to the bathroom. Very painful experience sometimes. And I said a lot of blood, but I was in denial. My energy levels were waning. The only reason I'd go out and exercise to this point now is because I had to walk the dogs because they couldn't walk themselves. And I just wasn't feeling good, and it was embarrassing to take my shirt off at the beach because I was, I was overweight, and I had all these weird skin issues. Like my elbows would crack and bleed and get really bloody on my shirts and on people's furniture and stuff like that. So that sucked. And it was just, I didn't feel good about myself, even though I was like supposedly this healthy fitness guy. I was a mess, and I just didn't know. I tried all the books, and I tried reading all this stuff and smaller meals throughout the day and all this, but some things worked to some extent, but just, it really wasn't working because I was still having these major problems, the skin issues and the rectal bleeding. So then we went on a vacation to Peru, northern Peru, just south of Ecuador, in a place called Tumbes, and a really remote place. And that's when I had to basically be driven 6 hours in the middle of the night in a van on a bumpy road. And I was in terrible pain, took to a hospital, drugged up. And then they basically life flighted me to this clinic in Lima to do surgery. And I went off the airport right into emergency surgery. And that ruined my vacation, not just for me, but for my wife and her dad and the people around us. So I realized it was like my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me, because I really screwed everything up for everybody else because I didn't know how to take care of myself.
You were 37? You were 37 at that point?
Yeah, a little younger than that. I was a little younger than that.
So young to have those kind of problems. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's more prevalent today than ever. what I'm finding out. So then this was kind of a wake up call. Then I had a friend on my baseball team, Clay Mahoy. He gets diagnosed with cancer, like stomach cancer, colon cancer. And he does surgery and, chemo and that kind of stuff. And he ended up dying 80 pounds under his weight on hospice with morphine and that kind of stuff. And it was really sad because he was like the fittest guy on our team. He had 3 little boys he left behind from ages 6 to 17. So we did a fundraiser for him. He didn't really have insurance or nothing. And I remember, my grandma had died of brain cancer and my aunt had died of skin cancer. So I'd been through that experience, but they were older, and you kind of expect that when people get older, so you don't think much of it. But this guy was 40, right? He was close to my age. And then fast forward a few years, then a really good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Charles, gets diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is this incurable so-called blood cancer. And he went up to Oregon State Health University, or OHSU, Oregon Health State University, or whatever it's called. And it's like a top place for cancer and all that stuff here in Oregon. And there wasn't really much for him. Give him chemo, he said, and then when it gets bad, and then it'll come back after the chemo, and it gets really bad, then chemo doesn't work. It's like one time to knock it back, and then when it comes back, they put you on an experimental drug, and hopefully by then, he said, we'll find a cure for you, otherwise you die. And Charles is like, screw this, man. So he started, Googling stuff and looking around, and he found this place in Florida called the Hippocrates Health Institute. And Hippocrates had been around for 60 years at the time, 61 years, something like that. And they were an alternative healing institute. So what I found out, though, when we went there, it was an educational school. So they give you 40 hours of education on how to live a normal life in a crazy world. That's what it really boils down to. And they expose everything, and they share with you all the toxins and the chemicals and the pollution and stuff going on in your gut. So he said, hey, Tim, he drops the bomb on me about the cancer. And I'm like, whoa. And he goes, I'm going to go to this place, this institute in Florida. Will you come with me to support me? And I'm like, yeah, dude, whatever you need. So next thing I know, we're on our bags. January 1st, 2011, we land in the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida. And then that's where the education began and the transformation. So it's called the 3-week life transformation program there. So the first class was really interesting. It was called Internal Awareness. And this buff doctor comes out and he starts explaining how from the time you eat food, what goes on with the teeth and the enzymes in your mouth that get secreted all the way through the digestive process until the food exits the body and everything. And after that I was like, wow, like how come they didn't teach us this in school? I mean, this is like so simple, but it makes sense. And it's like you learn about what's going on inside because you can't see it. Basically, what we learned is about the average person, Bob, is carrying around about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material and mucoid plaques lining the small and large intestine. And these things can house harmful organisms, viruses, bacteria, molds, yeast, fungus, parasites, and then also harmful chemicals. So as a protective mechanism, that mucoid plaque in the small intestine will house these chemicals that we're breathing in, like automobile exhaust, jet fuel, rubber compounds, paint off gassing from your house or your commercial building, aerosols, whatever. And it goes into that mucoid plaque and it tries to keep it there so it doesn't go through the intestinal lining into the blood. And I'm like, whoa, like I'm freaking out here. And they were trying to sell us on doing a colon hydrotherapy, which is, I don't know, are you familiar with that?
Like colonics?
Yeah, colonic. So for those of you listening that aren't familiar with this, you basically set on a tube rectally, and then they put water in and out of you gently for about an hour, and it cleans your colon. So when he started talking about this, I remember I was like elbowing my buddy. I'm like, dude, I've come here to support you, but I ain't doing that deal. By the end of that talk, though, I was the first one. I'm like signing my name on this list to be the first one. And the next day I go in, they weigh me. I do the colon hydrotherapy or colonic, and they weigh me again. In an hour, I dropped 10 pounds of impacted fecal material in my colon.
So you were full of shit, basically.
Yep. Everybody is. And that doctor said, he goes, Tim, you have 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And he goes, if you really want to heal and you want to stay young and look like everybody else that's been working here for a long time, then you have to get that crap out of you. Here's the other thing that blew my mind. This guy was really in good shape. He had a lot of muscle on him. And I said, how old are you? And he goes, I just turned 50. And I was like, what? I mean, I thought the guy was maybe 40. Mm-hmm. And him and his wife were bodybuilders, actually. And then I was like, because I said, are you living this lifestyle? Because it's a plant-based lifestyle is what they're teaching for healing. No meat, no dairy, no salt, no sugar, nothing. And completely opposite of what I've been eating. And I was like, wait a minute, you haven't, how long has it been since you had meat? He goes, I haven't had meat in 10 years. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? And that's when my mind started getting completely blown.
Mm-hmm.
Because here was this individual in front of me. I know he wasn't bullshitting me, and he was in great shape, and he had plenty of muscle on him. All we did was basically drinking a lot of purified water with lemon and lime juice. We drinking these green juices twice a day. And they actually do sprout juice too. So it's cucumber, celery, 50% that, 50% cucumber, or excuse me, 50% sunflower and pea sprout juice. So it's this living juice basically, and you're pounding that twice a day. And then the buffet is just like sprouted everything: sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans, broccoli sprouts, radish sprouts, red clover sprouts, pea sprouts, sunflower sprouts, you name it. I mean, it's just everything sprouted, all these fresh vegetables and peppers and avocados and all these things and dressings. You basically just make big ass salads. Now, here's what happens though. When you come off the standard American diet and you start purifying your body with all this water and green juices and living foods, you go through what's called a detox period or a healing crisis. And basically what they said is in the first 10 days, your body's going to dump about 60% of all the chemical toxins that you've accumulated in your lifetime, and all the garbage that's lining your intestinal tract will get dumped out, 60% of it in the first 10 days. But then it takes 7 years to get rid of the other 40%.
That would make sense because the cells, every cell in your body is new by 7 years.
Yep, and regenerating and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, wow. And then he's like, yeah, you thought you coming here for the 3-week life transformation program. Now you're finding out it's going to take 7 years. It's like, you didn't know you're signing up for that, did you?
Did
like,
you
no.
have? I'm curious. During this detox period, did you feel like you had the flu, or like?
Oh yeah,
because I've had that feeling where I'm like doing clean stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel so good.
I didn't have it as bad as some of the people there. I had night sweats. I became very irritable.
Mm-hmm.
I was very tired. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue. That was heavy metals leaving the body.
I remember when my wife stopped using NutraSweet about 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, everything tastes like metal.
Yeah,
that was
heavy metals.
Just that alone was messing her up.
Yeah, they're spraying the chemtrails. Those have nano-sized aluminum particles in it. Fish has aluminum in it. Mercury, cadmium, lead. Fish is really concentrated with heavy metals. But then, anyway, so I'm detoxing, but some people had it worse, Bob. I mean, a lot of people had rashes breaking out on their arms, their back, their face. I saw parasites crawling out of people's pores. One lady had a parasite crawling out of her eye.
That's crazy.
I know, and people are like, why is that? Well, think about it. When you study, I started geeking out on this stuff. I mean, really geeking out. So they actually kind of showed me the way. And then from there I took it, and I've been geeking out on this stuff for 10 years. And I'm like, okay, parasites and, harmful organisms, viruses, bacteria, they love a low oxygen, acidic environment. They love it. And they hate high oxygen and alkalinity. So what were we doing? I took my low oxygen, acidic body that was, created in a standard American diet and poor environment, putting it in this new environment, changing literally how my genes were going to express themselves. It's called epigenetics, by changing my environment. And then I set up an environment that was inhospitable for these harmful organisms. So they packed their bags and they left. And that's where you don't feel good as this crap's coming out of you. That's what you said. That's where you get these flu-like symptoms. They said on Thursday or Friday, one of those 2 days, you're going to wake up most likely and feel like better than you felt in a long time. And I was like, please be tomorrow, because I didn't want to go through one more day of it. And thank God it was. Thursday morning, I woke up. Charles and I went and got our water. We got our wheatgrass shots. We went and lifted weights, exercised, did some mini trampoline, did a sauna. We got in the mineral pools. We did the hot cold plunge, and we're walking back did our little routine. We're walking back to our little hacienda. And I literally felt like I was floating on a magic carpet. I looked at him. I was like, dude, we've discovered the fountain of youth. I mean, how good do you feel? He's like, dude, I feel amazing. He goes, I said, I haven't felt this good in 20 years. I literally feel like I'm 19. I have energy and vitality running through my veins. I just feel so electric. My brain is turned on. And then I said, hey man, you know what? You're going to make it. You're going to live. I've talked to all these people here. There's a lot of people that have healed themselves of a lot worse cancer than you. And we went home and we implemented the lifestyle. And in a little over 2 years, Charles was completely cancer-free. And within 60 days, All of my skin issues were gone. I lost the 38 pounds was gone. My energy skyrocketed. It stayed the same. My mental clarity. Now, 8 months later, I was completely healed because I had a huge patch of eczema on my knee. It was very big and thick, and it took about 8 months for that to go away. But so within 8 months, I mean, all my visible symptoms were gone. I was, instead of wearing larges and extra larges, I was wearing smalls and mediums again, like I did in high school and college. And I've been able to maintain that now for 10 years. And I got so excited about it, I started teaching other people. And for 5.5 years, even when I was still a financial advisor, I was teaching detox and living food prep classes twice a week at my home. I was speaking at grocery stores and hospitals and churches and apartment complexes and people's homes, and people would get people together. And I was like excited to come over and tell them about juicing and sprouts and what it had done for me and what it was doing for my buddy. And probably the most epic moment was Charles wanted to run the 2012 Portland Marathon before he was even technically cancer-free. And he talked me into doing it with him. And when we crossed the finish line, man, that was a really epic moment in my life to like kind of finish that. Here's this guy, it's my buddy of mine. He's dying of cancer. Here I am. I've turned into a fat slob mess, not by choice, but just from not knowing. And then all of a sudden here we're crossing the finish line together, and he's on his way to healing from cancer. And I've completely healed myself up and felt amazing. And
what a great,
it was awesome. It was
and you just said something right at the toward the end of that last little piece where you said, I just didn't know. That's what you just said, something like that. And that is really the key. It's that type of knowledge, which is not taught and not part of the thing, is really a big part of people changing. It's like if there's these new possibilities, which are basically old possibilities and, tied to nature, that are available to everyone.
When I went to Hippocrates, they basically said, here's the map. Here's the map. You can go right to where you need to go if you want to.
Does that place still exist? Is it still?
Yeah. They've been struggling because of COVID, though, because of the shutdowns and stuff. But because they don't. It's not like some super wealthy organization. They're a nonprofit. They've been, I think they've been struggling along for years trying to keep the doors open, but because the cost of everything is so much, and what they teach is there's really no money in it. I mean, they're teaching people to detox and drink water and drink green juices and eat sprouts and learn to take infrared saunas and swim and move the body and get outside and get sunshine for your vitamin D. And it's education, really, And I knew it wasn't BS for two reasons. Number one, all the people that were working there that were actually following the diet, not all of them were, the lifestyle, they look 10, 15, 20 years younger than people their age. My nurse is an example. When I first met her, I thought she was like 35 or something, and she looked good. She was good looking, and she was 53. Dr. Brian Anna Maria, the two co-directors there, I mean, the guy's, I think he's like 70 now. He looks like he's 45, 48, something like that. 80% of the people that go there return because they want to bring other friends. They go there for vacation. They want to heal up. A lot of people from Europe will take their vacation, just come over there and stay for 2-3 weeks and just heal up. All they do is they plug you into nature, and they get they help you get all the man-made crap that is accumulated in your body, the toxins out, and they flood your body with pure nature. And then your body just responds, and your skin starts glowing. For people out there that want to have beautiful skin, if you want to have beautiful skin and a long, healthy life, you have to have a beautiful digestive tract, but you can't see it. So I've learned how to do that and keep my gut healthy. And by doing that, the skin looks great. Yeah,
that seems to be, and I'm happy about this, a new sort of the latest thing that people are talking about in the health field is gut health. And they talk about, from the inside out. And so explain what gut health is and how to achieve it. Does it involve probiotics? Does it involve, what can people do themselves to improve their gut health?
The number one thing is stress, actually, and I've seen this before because we do all this stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. Like this, I'll get this one lady as an example. She's doing all the products, doing all the protocols, everything we teach. And she's getting better. She's getting results, but it's still not there. There's something. Well, we find out that, special needs child and also a relationship that wasn't working, where there's a lot of yelling and screaming. Almost all cases when people can't heal and they're doing everything right, it's usually because of stress. If you can't learn to manage your stress, you're going to have a very hard time healing. Why? Because you put yourself into fight or flight mode. Even if you don't think you are, your body's natural response is if you're in stress mode, your body thinks there's a saber-toothed tiger chasing you. So you're putting out a lot of cortisol and a lot of adrenaline. And if that stuff doesn't get used up through running or fighting something, it turns into a toxic poison. And then number two, you got to clean it up. If you have 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material, mucoid plaques lining the small and large intestine, wouldn't it make a lot of sense to get that stuff out of there? We have a product that we found in India that's thousands of years old that does a really good job without the diarrhea and sprinting to the bathroom. So people in America can, that are busy, can travel, they can play sports, they can go to work, they can take care of kids, and they don't have to worry about diarrhea and that kind of stuff. It's a very gentle detox, and it works. I also recommend colon hydrotherapy. Get a couple of those back to back in the beginning, but some people just won't do them. That's why we developed, or we went and found that product, was because some people are just not going to go do it.
And if people go to the website, what is that called?
That one's called Gut Detox. They would get a bottle of that, do the 15-day detox where they take 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And then after that, I've taken 3 a day for maintenance for over 5 years. My formulator, who brought that formula back from India, he's been taking it for like 37 years. And he's like in his 70s and his skin looks like he's 38, 35. So success leaves clues. And, over in India, the two places he studied at where there was thousands of years of lineage of apprenticeship, trying this and trying that and finding out what works and what doesn't work. Now they just know what works after thousands of years of passing this down from generation to generation. He said, no matter what people's issues were, didn't matter. Nobody left those 2 clinics without that herbal product. And that's our gut detox product. We didn't develop it. It's been developed for thousands of years in India. We just brought it over there and put our label on it, and we've got the best sources. So that one's really, really important, a foundation. The other thing is water. Purified water is so important. And if you're living in the city where your water is in high pressure piping, then you need restructured water because the pipes kind of coagulate the water, make the molecules stick together, tend to too big. And then it's like trying to throw a bowling ball through a chain link fence. Chain link fence being your intestinal tract, and the bowling ball being the water molecule. So restructuring the water, make the bowling ball into sand, so it goes right through the chain link fence into the intestinal wall, so it can get into the bloodstream for multiple reasons. So it can get into the cell, right? That's number one. So you can burn calories effectively. That's a good way to lose weight. Number two, clean the garbage out of the blood. Number three, get that water into the lymphatic system, which is your garbage removal system that works on water, oxygen, and movement. You have to pump your lymph to push toxins out of your body. Water gets into the colon. That's good. Gets into the brain, right? That's important. Even your bones are 22% water. So water is really important, but your digestive tract definitely needs water. And so water's a major, major, major big deal. Another one we teach is chewing your food really well. These are part of our core 4 secrets. Number 1 is drinking half your body weight in liquid ounces of purified water daily. Core secret number 2 is chewing your food until liquefied. Now, we learned this in that class. When we chew, we have 2 ducts up here and 4 down here, and they secrete enzymes, amylase and lipase. These break down your starches and your fats. So if you don't chew your food really well, you're not going to break your fats and starches down very well in your gut. So you got to chew your food well. Another cool side benefit I learned from Dr. Gabriel Cousins, who's in his 80s and he can do 30 pull-ups. Stew on that for a moment. It's amazing. He said that when you chew your food really well, you're actually stimulating meridian points that create serotonin. This is the happy juice. So how many people are depressed today? And this is crazy. You can up your serotonin levels, your happy juice, by up to 500% by chewing your food well. It's a built-in anti-depression machine right there. Anti-depression supplement you can make for yourself just by chewing food well. And you're going to digest your food a lot better. And instead of having gut rot and fermentation, you're going to have digestion and assimilation by chewing your food well, and less than 4% of the population is doing that. So huge rooms of improvement there for our population to drink water and chew their food. The third secret is to avoid liquids with meals. Now that you've chewed your food really, really, really well, and it's going to digest and assimilate, if you drink purified water or apple juice or orange juice or green juice, it doesn't matter. You're now going to dilute those digestive enzymes and go back to fermentation and gut rot. Right? We don't want that. We want digestion and assimilation of nutrients, not fermentation and gut rot. So the rule of thumb for beginners is stop drinking liquids a half an hour before you eat, and then wait an hour after you eat, and then start drinking lots of liquids again. If you have stage 4 something, or you want to win a gold medal, or just be healthy as possible, or look as young as you can, then stop drinking liquids an hour before you eat, and then wait 2 hours after you eat, and then start drinking a lot of liquids again. That's what we learned. And then the last one is doing some breath exercises before you eat, just for a minute or two. Nice big breath in through the nose. Just let it go out through the nose or the mouth. Just relax. Pause at the bottom and then repeat. And then just do that for a minute or two. And then that'll take you out of that fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode. It'll bring the blood from the organ system, from the extremities back into the organ systems, so you can actually digest your food. And less than 1% of the population, Bob, is doing that. You stack those 4 together, it's an absolute, your health is going to improve before you even start taking a supplement or changing your diet or exercising or anything. It's foundational.
Wow. Yeah, I'm one of the low percentage people. I don't do a lot of that. I certainly drink liquids with my meals. I only drink water, but that's the only thing I really drink.
Yeah.
So
you try. And I tell people like, don't take my word for it. Go do it. It'll prove itself to you. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years now, and I've turned thousands of people onto this. I've been on podcasts lately since March, and I had no idea it was going to happen, but all these people started coming to us and getting on our products and stuff, and we've sold out. We were out of like my Green 85, the juice formula. Like our
I wanted to ask you about that. I was very intrigued by that when I went to.
We were out of that for like 40 days because we had so many orders. But what was cool is that I had all these people calling in and emailing, and they were just like, "Hey man, can't wait till your products get here. We understand with COVID and all this stuff, and you selling out and everything. We don't mind waiting, but I got to tell you, I've been implementing your core 4 secrets, and I already feel better. I have less gas. I have less bloating. I've lost a couple pounds. I mean, I had one lady, she dropped 50 pounds in 8 months just adding water to her life. She wasn't drinking any water.
I have an RO filter is what I use.
Yeah.
Reverse osmosis. It's that seems to be pretty good. I'm not like 100% changing the filters as often as I should because they're pricey, but
yeah,
I it still works. And that seems good. Tell me about this Green 85.
I was delivering sprouts to 40, 50 families a week here, and I had to hire a helper after a couple of years because I was getting up at like 4 a.m, watering, planting sprouts, and delivering them in suit and ties all over Portland, Vancouver, and then going to my 8 a.m. meetings. Luckily, traffic was good before then, so I was zipping around town. And because I had all these cancer patients coming to my classes. So after a while there was this one lady, and she called me up and she said, "Hey, I went into the doctor's office," which was one of our drop spots, because I couldn't drive around everybody's houses. We had to do these drop spots, and my wheatgrass wasn't there, and I need it. And she had kidney issues. She says, "Tim, I need it for my energy. I can't get through the day without that stuff." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And then I'm like, where she lived, dude, it was like a 2-hour drive over there and probably 2 hours back in traffic. So we're looking at 3-4 hour drive for me to go drop off a tray of sprouts that I was already losing like $4 on. I wasn't making any money at this thing at all. I was paying to feed people for the first 2 years. And I just wanted to share the information with people and help people. And I said, well, because I just had this formulator make me a bag of this super concentrated greens. And I kind of went through it with him. And it was kind of Tim's, as close as you could get to a fresh pressed juice product so I could have it for traveling. Because I juice every day, twice a day, never stop, 5.5 years. Well, we created that product. And I said, hey, Karen, why don't I just send you this bag of stuff? It's got a lot of wheatgrass juice concentrate in it and a bunch of other good stuff. And she said, but you said the powders aren't as good as the fresh. And I said, I know, that's correct. There are some things that you're going to miss, but in this one, we juiced it and we super concentrated it to make up for, the processing and all that stuff. And this is all processed under 110 degrees. So we're not killing the enzymes. I mean, we're freak shows about this stuff, right? Because it's going in my body. So I send it over to her, ship it to her. And then 2 weeks later, she calls me up. She's like, oh my God, I love this stuff. She goes, it gives me just as much energy as the wheatgrass juice, and I don't have to clean that damn juicer. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, this was a point in time in my life where I was literally trying to find more ways to make an income. I was just still doing financial advising, but I wasn't happy. That's when I picked up the phone and called my mentor, and I said, dude, I'm out of the financial services industry, and he's like, how are you going to make a living? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to go help people with their health. I'm supposed to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have to do this. Started coaching people for free. Well, 2 weeks after that lady calls me up. She said, hey, I'm out of this stuff. I need to order more. And I was like, well, this guy's kind of he doesn't take on any more clients. I just got in because his friend had known him for 40 years. And he's a raw food chef and I know him and I'll see what I can do. So I call him up. I said, hey, I got this lady that wants to buy this stuff from you too. Would you take on any more clients? He's like, no, I can't. He goes, I shouldn't have even taken you on. And I was like, okay. Because he's this old dude working out of his apartment and doing all this mixing and stuff. And he's just really into it. And I said, well, why don't you just send me a big ass bag of it and I'll chop it up and send it to her. So I did. And I sent her a bag. And then the next month she called me, I need more. And then a light bulb went off and I was like, wait a minute. Well, that could be a business. so here I am looking but I never thought about selling supplements. It wasn't even crossed my mind. So I bagged up about 6 bags of this stuff, called my buddies up and said, hey, I'm going to send you this stuff. It makes me feel really good. And you don't have to juice. These were people that had come to my classes and stuff that were friends, business professionals that were busy. I want you to try it out and tell me the truth. And I sent it off. And a week later, 4 of them called me back and said, hey, this stuff tastes like pond water. But by God, do I feel amazing. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's how it all got started, and with the supplements. And I started bagging up these greens, and Jeff would send me these big, huge bags of it. And I would go out there in my garage and bag them up in double Ziploc bags and write green stuff on it and send it off to my friends. And that's kind of how the whole thing got started. And that now we've got Dr. Treadway, our formulator, came into play. We're made in FDA approved labs, and we have, all that stuff now.
How does it taste now?
Well, we flavored it. So we used monk fruit to sweeten it a little bit, and raspberry extract. So those were the 2 combos that masked the highly concentrated green juice extracts the best. Kind of just tastes to me like a green tea now.
Wow, I got to try it.
Super sweet. It's not super sweet by any means.
Yeah. And so how big is that bottle you just showed me? Is that the one size you have? Is just
it's 210 grams. So it's 30 servings, 30 tablespoons basically.
Yeah.
And the way we process it, it's the bottle's kind of full when we process it, but through shipping it kind of settles.
Okay.
So sometimes people are like, hey, why is the bottle half empty? I'm like, I wasn't trying to do that, but it's just the way that we mix it and stuff. It's under 110 degrees, and we actually send it off to a special mixer so it doesn't kill the enzymes or life force. You can actually take our product and measure it with what's called Kirlian photography, and you can see the life force emanating off of it, which is pretty cool.
Oh, do you have a video of that on your website? Because that might be a great thing to see. If
you know what, I'm writing that down because I'm going to have Dr. Treadway do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
We can show that.
This is why you came here today, for my great ideas.
Yeah, totally. It all helps. Because people are visual, but the reality is once people take this, they know. Because I've got people that are intuitives and healers and Reiki masters and that kind of stuff that'll show up at like a booth at an event, right? Like we had Portland Veg Fest, and we haven't handed out samples. And people are like, oh, some people are like, oh, I don't like the taste. But most people are like, oh, it's fine. It tastes like nothing, really. Mm-hmm. But these people will grab it and they'll drink it, and then their eyes go like this. They're like, "What's in this? What's in this?"
Yeah, they bug out.
And they're like, "Dude, it gave me like instant energy. There's life force in this." And then they're like, "I'll take 6 bottles." And then the people help me are like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" This happens 2 or 3 times a day at these big events because we'll have these intuitive people that are really tuned into frequency. And they keep coming back. They're like, well, I've been eating a lot of sugary crap, and I just came over here to kind of revamp myself. So we give them as much as they want.
I have a question for you that there was I think it's a video that you have. I didn't get to see it, but I loved the title. Why failing is important. What does that have to do with on your website?
Why it's important, because you have to make, if you're not failing, that means you're not trying. You're not trying anything new. You're not experimenting. You're just kind of stuck, and your universe will, if that's the case, there's that old saying, you're either growing or you're dying. Mm-hmm. Well, your universe is either going to expand or it's going to contract. Okay. And what society does, society likes to do everything they can in print and news and media to contract and make your world smaller. When I went to the Hippocrates Health Institute, I was very closed-minded. Bob, I was very closed-minded about a lot of stuff. I mean, just if somebody said the word vegetarian, I was like, those people are weird, Sure. And I didn't even know vegan existed, right? And here I was doing this and feeling better than I'd ever felt in my life, like amazing. And so that opened my mind. And by cleaning out my body and getting rid of all that garbage and that trash, I realized that I was a food addict too, because I had a lot of emotional stuff going on from a child custody battle. And I was housing that stuff literally in my tissues, my gut, my muscles. And by changing my lifestyle and eating those fresh foods, that allowed those emotions to come up and get out of me. So I cried for like an hour. And this will happen where they'll have like, and I tell you what, talking about floating around on a magic carpet, it was amazing. So, and they'll have people from like cowboys with cancer from Calgary, Canada, that have been out in the range their whole life. They're eating baked potatoes next to a barbed wire fence and coffee. And then they get cancer and it's not working for them. They'll try a Hippocrates Health Institute because they want to live, last ditch effort. And usually 3-4 days into the program, they're through the healing crisis. They'll be laying on a deal there, getting a massage, and they'll start crying uncontrollably for an hour or 2 hours and trying to figure out why. Well, maybe it was because their dad beat the crap out of them, when they were a kid or something like that. Some emotional baggage from childhood. And we find that 60 to 70% of the people in our coaching program have childhood traumas that they're suppressing. So I was a food addict. So by changing my lifestyle and changing my diet has allowed all this stuff to move up and move out of me and heal. That's where the real healing is. It was just changing the diet's the easy part. It's getting the emotional healing to happen, to occur.
I've had that experience myself, like trauma will live at a cellular level. And then if you start cleaning up your health, and your cells start to get healthy, then the trauma and the emotion is going to come out.
Yeah.
I did some, who Wilhelm Reich was? He was a healer back in he was sort of, back in the 50s, and he had this thing called the orgone box. It was a lot of kind of wacky stuff. But his theory was that, I don't know why I'm digressing to this, but it was so interesting that emotions are stored in the muscles and in the cells. Mm-hmm. What they do, part of what they do in the therapy is they put the body in an uncomfortable position, like stressing an area, and then they rub that area and you explode with emotions and visions of things that memories and stuff. I did it for about a month or two, and it was really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and certainly with food, that is probably, a different way to go about it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So to get back to your question or statement about failing, it's important. You have to have an open mind. You have to keep trying things. I get so many people that come to us, they're like, they want to lose weight or something. That's usually a typical one. Like, I've tried everything. I'm like, well, if you did, you would be healthy. So you haven't. Like, there's no magic formula out there. It's just there's a bunch of garbage out there and people are peddling things. So what we peddle is nature. That's what we peddle. We just basically teach people that you've been disconnected from nature, and we want to clean your body, show you how to clean your own body up, show you how to heal yourself. We don't heal anybody. We never will. And just plug you back into nature. That's it. And we make it easy for people now. So we just guide people through that process and let the healing begin.
Here's a thing that sometimes gets in the way of me doing more, which is the expense of healthy products. And I think sort of in the long run, it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than chemo.
Yes, and it feels better. So I know a lot of people that they go, well, yeah, but it's, I don't want to be putting out, that this much money every month for, products, but you're probably going to be eating less and feeling better. And certainly on the back end, on the B side, you're not going to have these enormous problems.
Yeah. It's a knee-jerk reaction. And it's also, I did this too, where, because I remember there's no way if somebody would have told me before Hippocrates, hey, I want you to buy this $600 juicer and make green juice, I'd have been like, I'd have flipped them off. I'm like, are you crazy? But I felt so good at that place. And then I realized on Thursday, I'm like, wait a minute, when I go home, I don't have any of this stuff at home. So I went to their store and I'm like, what do I need to do to recreate this lifestyle at my house? Mm-hmm. She's like, do you have a juicer? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, you need one of those. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I mean, I didn't even look at the price. I didn't even care at that point. I wanted to feel good. That's all I want. I wanted to keep the train rolling because I hadn't felt this good in a long time. And I'm like, I liked it. And you guys didn't even know I had acid reflux so bad I was eating Tums and Rolaids like crazy. That was gone day one. Very quickly, the blood stopped very quickly.
That's amazing. And when you think about it, a $600 juicer, it's $2 a day for a year, and then it's paid off.
Yeah. So I had
It's not.
ordered like $1,100 worth of stuff. I called my wife up and I was like, "Hey, I got a package coming. Keep an eye on it because I got some, some stuff in there that's worth some money." She's like, "How much did you spend?" I was like, $1,100. She's like, "What?" I said, "Don't worry about it. We're going to get super healthy. Charles is going to heal himself of cancer and the world's going to be great, And she thought I was crazy. 7 months later, because I brought it home and I showed her, she's like, "You're crazy. I ain't doing any of that." She started watching some movies. She watched a movie called Food Inc. And she's like, "I'm not eating meat again ever." And then 7 months later, the juicer went on by itself. It wasn't me. She was in there making juice. So I was like, wow, all right. And then she followed suit because of my results. All of a sudden, when you look 10 years younger in about 6 months, people take notice of that stuff and you're maintaining it. It's not some little facade, and I've been maintaining this lifestyle for 10 years. So, it works.
I'm 66, and I have a lot of trouble building muscle mass at this point in my life. What's the best way to do that? This is just a personal question.
Well, I think you should listen to my podcast, The Health Hero Show, and there's an episode in there on muscle building.
That's what I will do.
Yeah. But some of the things we do is like sprouted nut milk. So in our group coaching program, we give links to a company called Blue Mountain Organics, and that's where we have people buy these sprouted nut butters. And I was into protein powders for a long time. Even back in the day when I was unhealthy, I was doing the whey proteins.
Yeah.
With ingredients like phenyltronics or whatever. I couldn't even pronounce the stuff that was in there. It tasted chemical. And then I started doing these plant-based protein powders, but I realized is that the human body really doesn't need that much protein, which flies in the face of everything that these bodybuilders and everybody's are teaching. But I am the one who's coaching these bodybuilders now. I actually had a guy who won Mr. Oregon. I mean, the guy looked like Schwarzenegger. And guess what? Your late 40s and early 50s, your internal organs start shutting down for the overconsumption of, like, bodybuilders are very disciplined. They'll have a steamed chicken breast, steamed broccoli, and maybe sweet potatoes or rice, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll eat the same damn thing over, and they do food prep and meal prep, and they're really into working out, but it's all acid. There's really no nutrients in chicken. And when you cook that chicken, this is, the Max Planck Institute or whatever, it shows that like 50% of the proteins are coagulated, meaning undigestible. Your body has to labor just to get them out of the body. When you cook food, you kill food. And rice has been, that's the first thing I get all these bodybuilders off of, is we get them off of rice. They don't realize that all they're eating is a mouthful of sugar, right? Yeah. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. The rice originally was really good. Rice is a grass and like wheat, and it makes a seed. But it's been hybrid by the Chinese, and then all on top of it, so it's indigestible. And then on top of it, they take 90% of the nutrition, the bran, and they take that off of the rice because the bran has that lipase, the same thing that we secrete in our mouth, fat digesting enzyme. And for long-term storage, rice would go rancid in 6 months. So they have to strip off the nutrition, 90% of the nutrition. You're left with a starchy carbohydrate and trace amounts of cyanide in white and brown rice, because it's long-term storage. That's it. So you're basically eating a mouthful of sugar. And then when you mix the meat with a protein with the starchy carb, the rice, that's improper food combining 101. I teach a local class here called Proper Food Combining. And rule number one, or guideline number one, is don't mix protein with starchy carbs. So we get them off of oats and rice, and we put them on quinoa. And if they're going to have quinoa, we'll have it with lots of vegetables. If they're going to have their meat, have it with lots of vegetables, but never mix in the protein and the starchy carbs. So when people come into our coaching program, it's not just, here's some supplements. It's get the core 4 foundation in place. We use the supplements to speed up the process, to detox and all that stuff. And then, like you said earlier, you're asking questions about the greens. The green 85 replaces the 85% of nutrients that's been farmed out of our soil. Most people are walking around on 15% nutrition, right? And then we teach things like proper food combining, because you can eat healthy foods, but you can still put them in the wrong combinations and still cause gut rot, fermentation, gas, and bloating. So we don't want that. We want people to have healthy, clean guts with no gas and no bloating.
So your coaching, are you doing it online now through your website?
Yeah, people just book a free consult online, and then we go through that. And then at the end of the consultation, we offer our private one-on-one coaching. And if they want to do it, they can. If they don't, they don't.
That's
it's
great.
No big deal.
Now, you said something earlier, and I've experienced this. I stopped eating straight ahead sugar a long time ago. It was kicking my butt, and I was addicted to it. As you were talking about, it's an interesting thing. People say, I can't, that sounds good, but what about all the great tastes? And I remember saying that many years ago. And the person I was talking to said, well, you're addicted to those tastes. If you stop eating that stuff that's not good for you, it won't even taste good anymore. And I had that happen with sugar. I had a sort of a detox period from it, and I could not stand heavy duty sugar. It was too much on my tongue, like eating fudge, but it was just regular sugar. And it's now I just see it as poison for me.
Well, that's what they did at the Institute. They kind of educate us on this stuff. And I remember they were showing he has a whole lecture on sugar. Like it's a 2-3 hour lecture on sugar. It will scare the crap out of you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sugar Blues was that
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's like, it's so bad. So first off, sugar, if you compare it to the cocaine molecule, if you actually look at the molecule structure of cocaine versus sugar, they're almost identical. Sugar is about 3 times more addictive though than cocaine. So with that in mind, think about that. Plus sugar cane is one of the most highly sprayed crops in the world. It's like number 1. There's more pesticides sprayed on that than anything else. So lots of toxins in it. And where in nature are you going to find lots of sugar or fat?
I don't know.
You're not. You're maybe a beehive, but you're going to get the crap stung out of you, right? But there's some sugar there. But so what they taught us was there's enough sugar in a leaf of a lettuce. So what ended up happening for me is the same thing. Like my taste buds changed a lot, and they taught us how to get tongue scrapers too. So when we're brushing our teeth morning and night, I've been doing it. I scrape my tongue, and in the beginning, when you do this, you'll see lots of white and yellow and brown stuff coming off your tongue. A lot of people have oral thrush, candida overgrowth. 60% of people I've coached have candida. We do a candida detox to get the candida albicans out of there. There's a yeast overgrowth. Mm-hmm. But you got to get all this stuff, you got to get it all cleaned up, and you got to get all that stuff out of the body. Otherwise it really is a body burden. It really is.
And what happened to me was I didn't realize that salt was just as bad as sugar. And it got to the point where I was having some pain in my leg, mm-hmm. In my calves, like in the veins. And I was like, what is going on here? And I realized I was eating, things with salt. I don't put salt on things when I cook or anything like that, but I was eating like pretzels and, gluten-free pretzels, but with salt.
Yeah.
I stopped.
It's crazy, man. Like I remember you just brought up, I had these people over for dinner. They were friends, and I don't know, I was into this lifestyle maybe like 3 years, and we were in a hurry. So we just grabbed some organic soup at Whole Foods. And then I made a big salad. I said, we'll just have soup and salad tonight. So I poured the soup, and they were eating it, and I took a bite of the soup, and I was like, I thought I was eating like a spoonful of salt water. I couldn't even eat it. I'm like, God. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, how does this soup's full of salt? And they're like, what? I go, how does the soup taste to you? And he eats it, and he hadn't changed his lifestyle. He's like, it's delicious. I'm like, what about you? She's like, yeah, I love it. And I'm like, I can't eat it. I can't eat. It had been a couple years since I had a store-bought soup. I'm like, I can't eat it. And this is a soup that I used to eat all the time.
Yeah.
It was too much, or like salt overload. And it's the same thing what you experienced with salt and sugar. I did the same thing. There's stuff now, there's no way I can't eat that stuff. Like somebody on birthday parties, somebody wants to have a cake now, or if it's made at like Safeway or something like that. There's no way I'm eating that stuff.
I can't even look at it.
There's no way. And I used to be addicted. I'd be like, wait until everybody turns their back and I'm eating an extra piece.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
But it didn't serve my body, man. All I know is I was overweight, acid reflux, bleeding, skin issues. Screw that stuff. I like feeling good when I wake up every day. So what my buddy said was a very poignant point that he made, which is, if I can remember what he said, feeling, how did he put it? He's like, nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. That's what he was saying. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. And here's the thing. You don't have to sacrifice. Once you learn how to detox the body, your taste buds are going to change. You're going to start experiencing fresher, rawer foods at a whole different level. you know, and a lot of people think of like, oh, I'm eating vegetables. You get like, you know, celery and broccoli and cauliflower and Costco with ranch dip in the middle and a big, huge plastic tray. That's not fresh food. I mean, that shit's probably been shipped 1,500 to 2,500 miles, picked. It was grown in nutrient deficient soils. It tastes like crap. You know, go to your grandma's or your aunt's garden, have a organic vine ripened tomato. Go to the store and have a so-called vine ripened tomato. It's a completely night and day. There's no different. It's a completely different animal,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Fresh foods, man. That's where it's at, and they taste better, and it's more fun. And it's got vibratory frequency to it. That's what we need.
Awesome. So, thank you so much. Boy, what a great talk. I could do this for like 5 more hours, but we're not gonna. The website is. Why don't you plug your website and your podcast, please, so people can come and find out more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I did a lot of one-on-one. I'll probably do some more of those. We just got a new studio now, but I go deep into things like detox and nutrition and proper food combining. And then I used to have some really cool guests on, like the one for muscle building, one of our biggest viewed shows with Dr. John Jaquish. Now he's kind of a carnivore diet, but the dude figured out how to build muscle. I mean, he figured it out, and I applied it, and I put on 11 pounds of muscle in 4 months. And doing one set, just like working at 8-10 minutes a day is ridiculous. So he's definitely figured that out. So I take anytime I find somebody like him that has something that I've used in my lifestyle that works, then it becomes a part of my program that I share with our group, right? And our people and our clients. And I'm always looking for new stuff.
What's the name of the podcast again?
It's called the Health Hero Show.
The Health Hero Show. Okay.
Health Hero Show. And they can find that on our website at chemicalfreebody.com, or it's on, Spotify and SoundCloud and, Apple, all the major platforms. It's like, it goes out like 16 or 17 platforms.
Yes.
And the website's chemicalfreebody.com. And for those looking to maybe do some detoxing, lose some weight, increase your energy, get rid of the gas and bloating, or if you're dealing with a severe health issue, about a third of my one-on-one coaching clients have cancer. So it's kind of going down now that we're getting exposed to more people. But it used to be all that I dealt with was like, I had cancer clients like all the time. Those are the people I was dealing with, because I could teach the full-on hardcore, nature-based lifestyle for people that really wanted to heal, and they would take action because they had their backs against the wall. So,
well, sure, it's nothing like desperation to bring about change.
Yeah. Now I get like athletes about a third, and then I also get about a third of people that are, more of executives and people wanting to lose weight and look younger and that kind of stuff. But anyway, if they want to go, I check the product tab and look under the savings bundles under that drop-down menu and just pick one of those. I personally do what's called the Total Energy and Detox bundle every month. That's what I consume. And then, but there's like the Jumpstart bundle and anywhere in between. If people want to do that. I also do private group coaching, so that's available too if they want to sign up. We're doing a special on that now. But just try it out. I've got a double your money back guarantee for a reason on the products, because I'm very confident they're going to work on the human body, because they're carbon based, they're nature, they're concentrated, they're herbs and foods. It's food based. It's real food. It's all dried under 110 degrees, picked with human hands. And we don't have toxins. We didn't even get, dude, you're going to have me back on, because we're going to have to go deep into some more stuff.
Amazing. I'm so impressed with what you've done. It's incredible. And just that whole story of how it started, and, it's really the opposite of the way you were raised. I mean, that's somebody with an open mind that's willing to look at new things. And I'm really, congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, a lot of my friends gave me a lot of crap in the beginning.
Of course they did.
Oh, man. But guess what? They're calling me now and like, hey, dude, I've got gas and bloating, or my son's got cancer. I mean, I heard some bad stuff. But Oh, and don't forget, everybody, if you guys wanted to try some stuff out, make sure you use that code EXPLODING at checkout, and you can get 5% off your first order. Just type in EXPLODING. And
well, thank you so much.
Explode your health.
Yeah, and we'll do another one down the road. Thank you. Thanks for listening to The Exploding Human. Glad you came to the show. I want to thank Tim James again for a great talk, and visit his website, chemicalfreebody.com. And also go to Hero Soap Company, type in Exploding at checkout, and get some of those healthy soaps infused with essential oils. That is a great product. And check out my website, theexplodinghuman.com, and the YouTube channel, which is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Much appreciation to all the listeners and people who are supporting the show. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.